Hello again. Welcome back to Chaotic Crafting. I'm Kim Deason, and today I wanted to talk about stencils. They used to be the bane of my existence. I hated it. I could never get a stencil to turn out correctly. It was always smudged and smeared, and I thought, I don't get it. What's the point? And so then, after years of just watching YouTube videos as if it's cable TV, I will tell you my biggest influencers are Jane Davenport, Diane Reevely, Dina Wakely, Tim Holtz. I watch Barbara Joggles and Elizabeth St. Hilaire. I've got a lot of her stencils, but I don't know where I picked up what. But I have discovered the joy of stencils, and now I have way too many, but I just wanted to show you, in case you didn't know, in case you hate stencils like I did, they can really add to a page. So I wanted to show you what you might be doing wrong and things that can help you turn out a really crisp stencil. So the first thing I'm going to do is just grab a brush. I've even invested in these little stenciling brushes. I've invested in stenciling wax, and I still never could get a really good crisp finish. So I'm going to show you first of all using some of these just regular brushes, and then I'll show you the easier way to do it. This stencil, because it's got a lot of little tiny details in it, and this is the kind that are more likely to really screw up. So I just want to show you how hard it is. I'm going to do it wrong a few times, then show you the easy way to do it. So, you know, from kindergarten, we're taught to pick up some paint and then go through the stencil. And I don't know if you can see that, and I'll show you an up close in a minute, but it's real gummy. And this, even though this is a nice thick brush, it just kind of, look at that, that's a total mess. I'm using a scrapbook.com sticky mat just so I don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, it's stickier than I thought. Daggum. But look at the hot mess that I've made. And this is how all of my stencils turned out. A stencil, a Waverly stencil brush. These weren't cheap. I'll show you what they look like when you use them. Even though I don't have the wax, again, I'm just gonna use acrylic. Oops. I'll just let this one keep being my bad version. It's a stiffer brush, so it does a little better, but it still bleeds all through there, because bristles, you know, have a tendency to kind of scoot the paint underneath the stencil. And so, again, very disappointing results. Even though this is a more expensive stenciling brush, it still just kind of sucked. So what I discovered over time is that I'm using too much paint, and show you the best thing to do. So Ranger ink has these blending stumps, and this is foam that you can change out. It's Velcro, and it sticks on top. But these really do make a stencil go over a lot easier. And the key and the trick to it is dip your foam tip into the paint and then smudge a little bit of it out. Diane Reevely has lots of videos that show you how she does this, and she's been one of my favorite ones of showing really and truly better techniques for stenciling. Once you take most of the paint off, then you just, in a circular motion, you go over your stencil, and this will create a much cleaner stencil up here. And it's a light touch. It's not a hard press, but a lighter touch that really gets a much better stencil result. So I haven't re-inked this foam utensil yet. Doing the same thing, getting most of the ink off, and just sort of not pressing too hard, just pressing enough for the paint to make contact inside those stencil lines, and that's all you need. As you can see, this honeycomb is much cleaner than that one, and the bee is not great, but you'll see the sunflower and the smaller bee, it's a lot better. And if you don't want to invest in something like these stumps with the extra foams, you can get something as easy as this. So these are the little finger foamies that you can use. I'm going to use the same. It's kind of the same concept. You don't want to put too much paint on your foamy, and you do want to just bring that over to and sort of lightly in a circle stamp that in. So as you can see, that's a much cleaner stencil. And even besides these, and if you don't have this lying around, you can use something as easy as a cosmetic makeup sponge. These are found just about everywhere. You can even find them at the $1.25 tree. So we're going to use that same concept. You just don't want to put a whole lot of paint on there, and then you're going to go lightly dabbing that into your image, not pressing too hard, and controlling that ink a little better. A lot crisper image on the sunflower and a crisper image on the bee. But I have to say, one of my favorite things to do, and these came out like as makeup blending brushes a while back. Great for a blending brush. Same thing, you want to make sure you don't get a whole lot. You don't want too much paint on your brush, but then when you go through that stencil, it should be laying it down a lot more even than normal. And you can see that, to me, has the best results. It's very clean, the edges are crisp, and you're getting all of the stencil. So this is my favorite thing to use for stenciling. But I love acrylic paint and I will use it. But one thing that I think works best, especially if you're real interested in a really crisp image, is using this brush with a stamping pad. So this is archival ink, black soot. It's the Ranger line, and I know I shouldn't do this, but I'm going to use the same one just because it's easier. I'm going to brush the black on top of these bristles, and then when I put this through this stencil, I can control the shading on this. I can make it light. Look how beautiful that stencil turned out. So to me, the easiest way to get a good stencil is using, if you want one that, like if you're doing words or something that you really don't want to mess up, use an ink pad and like a blending brush like these makeup brushes. So a reverse stencil is when you put your paint down first. If you don't have a baby wipe, you can use a paper towel, but it has to be a little damp. It can't be real wet. And what you're going to do is you're going to remove, this is not going to be a good example, but I'm going to remove the paint out of the stencil. And so this is sort of like a reverse stencil. I put the paint down first, and then I lifted the paint up out of the design of that stencil. And that makes for good backgrounds and journals when you do the reverse stencil. Since this is still a little wet, I'll do some bigger ones. So maybe a stencil would be a little too much, but you just want a nice impression of a stencil. And so that is a great technique for that. A jelly plate. Talk about making stenciling really easy and almost foolproof. And that's a good stencil. All right, well that was a lot of random fun, mostly about stencils. I hope you learned something, and you'll try something in your next arting adventure. See you next time on Chaotic Crafting. Bye.